The DJ Roundtable Show is live. It's the DJ Roundtable Show. Tell another DJ about the show. Please subscribe.
It is Tuesday night. It is 8 o'clock. Do you know where your DJ's at? I know where I'm at here with you. Yes, it is another DJ Roundtable. And yeah, I have some great DJs here. A couple of DJs coming in and out. Hopefully we have a few more coming in. We have a couple of DJs that froze, a couple of DJs who are not here. We have some DJs returning from vacation. We have DJs who are checking in. We have DJs who may hit the checkout because of bad storms. Never know what's happening. It's always a fun thing here on a DJ Roundtable. And as always, I'm your gracious host, Buddy Mueller. And I'm always here for you guys. So make sure you grab the popcorn. Make sure you grab the fun stuff as far as a soft drink. Or grab your favorite flavored water. Sit down, relax, sit back, crack that cold one, and enjoy the show. Couple things first thing first, as always. If you're here on Twitch, thank you so much for being here live on Twitch. We're live on Twitch on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central Time, henceforth. It's 8 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, that's 9 o'clock. On the West Coast, it is 6 o'clock. So Joe is not having dinner right now. I'm sure he'd probably have some nice big filet or maybe some steaks on the grill or something like that. So he's foregoing his dinner time to hang out with us, and he's always graceful for that. And I also, hopefully, maybe Matt will be in. I know he's been running around doing stuff on Tuesdays. He hasn't been here for a little bit, but hopefully he'll be in tonight. We'll see. I know he was in New York. He's been in Florida. He's been a bunch of stuff. If you haven't done so, you can always watch his videos on YouTube. Jeff was on vacation. He's back from vacation, all relaxed, all pina colada out, enjoying those delicious drinks with little umbrellas in there. Dwayne, my man, into the east of me in Ohio. He's always here. Sean is here down south in Georgia with the nice hot weather. And, of course, in beautiful New York, it's Chris. And we were just talking about stuff beforehand. One thing we're talking about is YouTube. And with YouTube, if you're on it, you're watching this on YouTube, which is the show on Mondays at 12 noon. That's usually what I try to aim for. If you're watching this on YouTube, and you're part of the 77.2% of people who are not subscribed, do me a favor, help me slay that beast. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit the bell icon, because that's what helps beat that algorithm. And I need that help. I need that push. The more thumbs I get, the more people talking down below in the chat, the more algorithm is going to say, hey, this is a good video. We can share it with other people. So please watch it. Talk about it down below. I want to hear stuff from you guys. I want to hear questions, answers, any tomfoolery, anything. You know, again, we can follow us on the Insta, follow us on the Facebook. You can follow us all around. We have a Facebook group if you're in Facebook. So you can always join the group over there. And speaking of other shows and stuff going on, we have two other people here with some great shows. Again, almost everyone here has a YouTube channel except for Chris. Maybe one day. But we do have Sean, who has a YouTube channel. He has his great DJ Biz School, and he gives a lot of information over there. He's been crazy busy with stuff, so he hasn't had a chance to do some of my videos on there. The other one is Dwayne Dixon, and he does a little show that's a little bit long. It's a little long, usually 2 hours long. Him and Mikey Mike, it's staring nasty outside. Okay. They do the show, Cue It Up over on YouTube. They do it live on Thursday nights. When Sean can do it, he's Wednesday night. He releases a video. And as always, it's great to see everyone there in the chat. I see people talking in the chat already. Thank you guys. Welcome. And as always, thank you for coming in. And thank you for tuning in and watching the show. I appreciate it. I always do. With that said, tonight's topic, I actually Sean is the one that actually brought the topic to me because he called earlier and he was asking and talking about this. And I wanted, again, you guys get your 2 cents in and how you approach things. He has a couple that he wants to make happy, like we all do. We want to make our customers happy and we want to do the right things. And the customer gave him a script for each of the items to call out on. So, like the introduction, gave him a script. Gave him a script for the special dances. So, daddy, daughter, mother, son. The grand entrance, introductions for the wedding party, introductions for whomever. They gave him all these different scripts onto their wedding. So, my question to you guys, if you have a client that comes to you, like Sean, and again, we want to make our clients happy, so we're doing things. And they gave you a script and said, "Hey, we want you to say this." And it's not like a quick phrase like, here's here's Tom and Mary coming in, or whoever it is, the couple. It's a very long script. He read it to me, and we were talking about this. And one of the things we came together was that the best thing to do is record it because it is a longer script to read. And it's something that with that, what do you do when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I want a certain script or a certain thing done"? Do you do it? Do you record beforehand? Do you do it live? Do you go to the customer and say, "Maybe we should do this," and try and explore another avenue to it? When they want you to follow their script and something they wrote for their event. And again, it could be a corporate event. It could be a wedding. It could be a birthday party. How do you handle it? How do you handle when someone hands you that sheet of paper, says, "Here's this sheet of paper. On it has all this information. I want this said, this said, this said, this said." And again, it's not just a quick thing. Hey, tell her when the bar is closing. It's a paragraph or two saying the bar is closing. So it is elaborate. So again, what do you look at? What do you do? How do you do it? Do you even do it? Do you say, "No, I don't do this"? So I'm going to start with, actually going to start with Chris. Chris, if someone hands you a script for grand entrance, for commercials, for a corporate event, whatever it is, how do you handle it? Do you follow it, or do you say, "Hey, let's work together on this," or do you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing"?
If it was from a corporate event doing introductions for certain people, it could be whether it's a company powwow or a big company convention, do it as it needs to be done. You don't want to tear away from what they're expecting. Now, bride and groom, is it something out of your norm? I most certainly would definitely go over with them because it's supposed to be their big day. And maybe you can convince them, because we've been doing this a lot longer, that maybe you should shorten this up. Do you really necessarily need all this stuff said directly? Or can we shorten it up to make it nice and sweet and presentable? Because you have all these introductions. Absolutely do what they want of who's being introduced and everything else. Do you need the full names? Do you want to say so many extra things? Is that necessary? You got to ask her, would you like to do it as a practice run with them right there, right now? Can we go over this together to see if this actually flows with your timing and how you want your guest to portray your introductions of your bridal party or any family guest members, to see if it's something that they truly, truly want? It's just something they thought of a whim and they just wrote it down on paper, So make sure it is something that they absolutely desire and show them that, the venue may not be appreciative of such a long introductory thing, and guide them and give them, say, "Hey, I'll do it if you really, really want, but is this a guideline or is this a strict rule, non-negotiable?"
And that's one of the things also is that when we were talking about earlier, when Sean gave me a call and we are talking about it, is it too long? Is it too much?
Yeah.
And the one thing I've heard before from some of the other DJs I know is applause fatigue or cheering fatigue. Because we got to get through all this cheering, the crowd, they start cheering less and less and less. And you're trying to build up to the bride and groom. You're trying to get up there to the bride and groom.
Yep.
And it could be too much of, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this, listen to me. And all of a sudden, by the time it gets to the couple, because it's so long, it's the people have lost their energy, and you don't want to lose energy for the enthusiasm of the couple or of anything going on. If it's CEO of a company or if it's a birthday person, it's a quinceanera like Joe does, the beautiful quinceaneras he does, or it's something else. It's a school event. You don't want to have it too wordy, and that's one of the things I said. I said it's a little wordy, but the thing is, we also want to make the customer happy.
Yep.
And making that customer happy and striking that is a very hard balance. Um, you know, when you do things, you want to look at always in the customer's favor and always what the customer's needs. But they don't do this every weekend. And again, walking through it, I think is also a smart thing too. And having them listen to how it is. And again, if you're pre-recording it, which I recommend recording it because of the fact that this way 100% you're not screwing it up. Your eyes not wandering. You can type it out, nice big letters, whatever you need to do. So that way you say it and you talk your normal voice, you're excited, and you basically make it an MP3 and you play it for those times. Because again, it's not really quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom, Tom and Mary are coming in. Okay, that's pretty quick,
It's a little short,
but again, short, sweet, to the point.
but a little meaningless. There's no heart to it. I think that's probably what clients want. They want to have that little extra heart put into it and effort, and that most certainly makes a big difference. There's, like you said, there's a happy medium to find where it's nice, simple, and sweet, and you gave a little tidbit, a little extra, so it's just sprinkles on the ice cream with your whipped cream and stuff, and then it's the crowd that puts that cherry on top to make that bride and groom feel absolutely what happened is the best thing, and you can't do it any other way.
Yeah,
You couldn't do it
that's the thing, looking at everything is having a script. Again, we all have little scripts and stuff like that, how elaborate they want to go.
Yep.
And how we want to introduce them. And we, sometimes less is more, and having it less and more kind of attitude is helpful. I saw a video of Rachel today. Rachel's been on the show before. And she was doing how she does introduction. And she's like, having people clap like 3 times, louder and louder and louder. So she knew everyone was listening and paying attention. Would I do that? No. Does Tracy do it? No. But different ways, different people do different things. It's does not matter right or wrong. It's a question of, is that a better way, or does that work for her? And does that work really well? And again, I saw it work very well for her. And again, she knocks it out every weekend.
Execution. It's how you execute it as well,
Yes.
too. There are times where you over execute it, and now you're just taking up that so much.
And she executed very, very well. So that's one of the things that, looking at it, it's like she did a real good job. Is it the same thing we would do? No. But again, we're a different company. We're different people. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means it's a different way of doing it. It's always interesting when I watch that stuff and watch little tidbits I always get from other DJs. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty smart. Oh, that's pretty cool. And again, she always has smart, great stuff on her channel. Joe, out there in LA area, when you do introductions and so forth and so on, and someone comes to you and says, hey, here's 6 sheets of paper with how I want to be introduced, how long, and with this huge script to read. And it's, again, a wordy script, not like very quick, not very short, but not medium, pretty long. What do you do? How do you do that? Do you talk to them? Do you work with them? What do you do with those kind of couples?
Well, my process is a little bit different because on my sit down and consultation and final meeting, I go over all of that stuff beforehand because I want to be prepped. I want to be basically prepared. So when they do give me the script, like you said, you can record it beforehand and make suggestions at that point. Now, I've had situations where you'll get wedding planners that'll intervene and they'll say, well, we want it done this way. But I already sat down with the bride and groom, so you kind of have to go back and forth. But I never say no, but I always like to be prepared. The quince that I did this week, they did give me a long script. and they wanted me to announce the the court. And I said, all right, each name, 10 seconds, then the next person, the next person. We want to go ahead and do the crown and the doll. And the guy comes up to me and goes, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to do that after all. It's taking too much time. And the mom says, no, 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 we're going to do it. And I go, okay, whatever you want to do. So you have to be kind of transparent and understand what they want, what they don't want. What you don't want to do is basically instill any type of fear in your announcements because your audience will automatically, hey, this guy's scared. And you don't want to do that. You want to, you know, be a professional about it. So, like you were saying, okay, let's go through this. Let's run through this beforehand. If you want to go ahead and do this introductions, because sometimes you'll have brides and grooms and they'll have 7 couples, and each one wants a little. They went to the football game. They learned this. They got together. This is how they met. Yada yada. Then you go to the next couple. They want a separate song for each person. So it can get very complicated at that point. But again, the better off you are when you're prepared in the front end, you'll be better off in the end because that's where you're going to come off as a professional, or you're just going to wing it. And winging it doesn't show very. I mean, it shows that you're trying to do it, but you just don't want to be in that situation. That's the way I look at it.
And when you get someone like that, it has a very intense script. Do you record it beforehand, or you just do it live right there?
So if they give it to me beforehand, yes, I can do that. Or I'll just basically go over it I want to make sure that I got everyone's name, the pronunciation is correct, because if they give you, sometimes they might give you like 12 people, 6 couples, and they all have different names. And it just depends on the ethical background that they have. So it can get really wordy sometimes. And that stuff you got to practice and make sure, you say it, pronounce it correctly the way they want. Because I did a wedding one time and it was Solis, but no, we want it pronounced Soles. So you'll get those people that they want their name pronounced a certain way. Does that kind of make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I've had a wedding like that. I did an Arab wedding, and let me tell you, they wanted me to do the MC work, and my God, I had to learn a little bit of Arabic and learn the nuances of their syllables and vowels, and like, whoo! It was a practice run for a week.
Yeah.
It really was.
The Filipinos, and I'm not banging on them, but they're all about performance. They want things done a certain way.
Yep.
And if you ever did any type of events, debutantes, any events for them, they are all about performance, structure. I want it done this way. If you can't do it, we'll hire an MC. Simple as that.
So I'm going to go to the man who brought this to me, and I wanted to give him a few minutes because I know he was dealing with a little bit of storms there in case we lost him. So, Sean, again, you brought this. Explain a little bit more to everyone so they kind of get a little better idea. I kind of gave me the synopsis, and maybe we can get a little more deep in this for this, and how we can also make sure that we want to take care of the customer. The customer is king.
Yeah, so I got an email today for a wedding in 18 days. We've had our consultations and stuff. They never really mentioned anything about a specific script. I don't usually ask my couples for a script. I do my own thing for each wedding. So I received it today, and this is not introductions. It is 10 pages for the entire day, telling what they want you to say specifically for guests to be seated, different things throughout everything that takes place throughout the event. They have fully scripted multiple paragraphs for each thing. Introductions for father, daughter, mother, son, announcements about cake, whatever it may be. It is literally a 10-page document of a script for their wedding to follow. So that's when I called Buddy and just, what are your thoughts on this? I was already kind of leaning towards pre-recording it. Obviously, my first reaction, I want to tell them to take their script and shove it up. Sorry, buddy.
Now, see? Now you replace Matt now. Thank you.
I had to slip that one in there. Shove it where the sun don't shine. There, you can edit that part in.
Oh, of course, Bradley's got to do that, I got now. Who gets? Do you get air horns or do you get something else? I got to figure that one out now.
Fart noise.
No. G-rated, man. We keep things G.
Elephant. Do the elephant screech.
My whole beef with it is it's not like it's even touching information. Most of it looks like they went to ChatGPT and asked them to write a cheesy introduction for this part of their wedding. Because I'll give you an example, just a little part out of it. Please welcome the man who's been by the bride's side the longest, her father. Like, what kind of cheesy crap is that stuff? So it's not like it's meaningful information. I've done events where we'll do a grand entrance and we roast the bridesmaids and groomsmen, and they will give me information on all of them to sit and roast them. That is one thing, but at what point are they just stepping on us as a creative person and as an MC to do things in their style? And again, it comes across as they probably use ChatGPT to write out this script for the day. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow night. I'm going to talk to them about it. But yeah, as now my plan's to record each of their announcements and just sync them up throughout the evening.
Quick question for you, Sean. Are these clients that, got to see you or hear you play, or was a referral from a friend that they contacted you, or was just a straight
it was through I think Instagram. They've seen some either Instagram or TikTok. So seen some of our videos in that.
See you work, or they never had a friend or a family member see you work and say, you got to call this guy, he's the best.
I think they're very controlling is the vibe I kind of get from them.
Gotcha.
And they just want to have a hand in everything for the day, and this is how it's going to be for the day. So, and again, like we do corporate clients and stuff, I'm used to getting scripts and stuff.
But at least
it's more so the fact you're 18 days before the wedding and they're sending this and springing it on you with no prior mention, and it's one of those clients where after you've booked them, you're like, man, I should have passed on these guys. They have been a pain in the behind. You're welcome, buddy.
You have any more detail that you're willing to share or no?
Yeah, I mean, they sprung on wanting me to provide sound for their live band at one point, thinking I'd just include it in with them. They've canceled probably 18 different meetings on us and rescheduled. Just everything you could think of for a nightmare client. This is them.
It's a difficult thing.
Not filling out the planning portal. Instead of filling out our planning portal, our forms and stuff, they send in their own sheets that are all just a giant cluster that you have to try sorting through then to actually get the details that you care about that you need for the day out of. So, I mean, literally think of your nightmare client, one who's just a pain to work with, and this is them.
We'll say a difficult client and is a challenge to work with. So, because again, we don't want anything bad about the client, because again, the client is
they are a pain in the
what?
Yeah, they're a pain in the
I ain't even gonna sugarcoat that. And if they're watching, I'm glad you're all hearing it. 18 days and I'm done with you.
Yeah, well, they probably won't. They probably won't. But again, we always want to respect the client. The client is one who's paying us, and again, they're making it difficult. I think they're making it much more difficult than what it should be. Especially again, they're giving you 10 pages. And that's why I said this. It's not like, hey, I want to read yours this way. Especially announcements like
it's not even introductions. It's 10 pages. Plus a separate form for introductions that they gave.
But you know what?
Literally 10 pages of announcements.
They're expecting you to be not only the DJ MC, but the planner, the coordinator.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
what they're,
It's an
that's basically what they're
unreasonable
doing.
expectation at this point.
They're actually want you to
I
be the
I hate to
coordinator
say it.
as well.
I think it's time probably you have that sit down with them and say, you gave me way too much information. You're way too much of a micromanager. You refuse to fill out my forms that are already, shall we say, catered to a wedding format. I understand you want to change a few things, but you went beyond overboard to where I am now spending 4 to 6 times the amount of my standard labor time in preparation. And you don't get paid for that. You get paid for the performance of what you have there. And I probably would have told that client the second I got that, if it was more than 3 or 4 pages, that's way too much detail.
Yeah.
You know,
It is a little excessive, but the thing is that again, this is something we do weddings every weekend. They
Mhm.
do one wedding, or maybe they were getting this their second wedding, maybe it's their third wedding. But still, it's not like they have practice
Number
weddings every
4.
weekend. It could be like Liz Taylor, where Liz Taylor got to 8 or 9, whatever. By then she got the discounts from the bands and stuff. But it's one of the things that when you're looking at that, it's very difficult. And Fred, the godson, said, "Really, do you prefer let's see here, record their announcement?" That might be the first time I've ever heard of something like that. Actually, that's kind of common with a lot of things, especially in Hollywood, with like the shows and stuff like that. When they do like Academy Award introducing so and so, those are usually recorded. They're not done live, just in case there is a mistake, and they can tweak it, EQ. They can EQ all that, and it sounds really clear and clean and good. So recording it beforehand, especially as in depth as the client wants to go, that's why I'm like, this is a good thing to record. This way, you're not missing anything, and there's no missteps. And this way, the client can't hold you and say, "You mispronounced this. You did not say that. You didn't say this line. You skipped over this phrase." That's a little bit. That's one thing. Fred also asks, "Were there red flags you noticed before booking them, like
Yeah,
in
I mean,
the pre-booking the meetings?"
their booking process was drawn out. It should have been a little bit of a red flag. They missed, I think, like 2 meetings prior to booking. Um, Said they are busy at work or something right then and there, but it only got worse from there. So I mean, should have seen it right then and there.
After the 2 misses of meetings, third strike, you're out. You're too busy to handle a wedding.
Sadly, they booked on the third one.
So, Joe, you said something interesting in
Yeah.
message. Well, go ahead and explain to people what your philosophy is on that.
My philosophy is I mentioned to the client that they do have 1 hour of free consultation. Anything beyond that, I will have to charge them for additional time. So this sounds to me like you're spending way too much time
Oh
with
yeah,
this client, and you just let them know, hey, listen, I'd love to do all these things, but I need to charge you for it. Simple as that, because
Yeah.
it's time. And let push back that way. When it's what is it? When it affects them financially, then they'll go, okay, wait a minute, let's think about this. You're absolutely right. Or they'll say, not a problem, we'll pay you the additional $1,000 or whatever you want to charge them to do all of this.
and that's been one of them. They're definitely a
But I
little
would have
stingy,
I would have put
stingy on
that,
the wallet. So they booked a lot of our effects and stuff.
yeah.
And so they booked one use of cold sparklers.
Mhm.
But then, well, would you light them off outside at the ceremony and then inside for the dance floor? Sure. If
Yeah,
you'd like to add on a second use in a second location, we'll be happy to do that. Oh no, no. Like we just thought you'd do this. And
no.
same with our
See,
geysers. We do geysers for entrance. It's just they're one of those couples that want, but don't want to open up that bank account.
if you had that conversation in the beginning, maybe you wouldn't be where you're at.
So
I
it
don't know.
is, and it's laid out in our contracts, and we talk about that when they're booking our effects and stuff. It is for the one use in this one location. But
Mhm.
then after the fact, like, oh, well, we really want to use it for our ceremony too.
No, I'm talking
That's
about the 10
great.
page,
It's this
10
much
pages
extra.
that they gave you, that long doc.
Yeah.
I would, let them know from the get-go. I'm just gonna have to charge you extra.
Yeah, and that's the thing is time. It's always time and material. Speaking of time and material, I want to go to Dwayne, who again he's a little newer in this situation. He's been in music for many, many, many years, but owning a DJ business, he's only been in the game for a shorter time than some of us. And I want to go you, Dwayne. What do you do? Have you run to a client like this yet? Have you done anything like this? What would you do in this situation?
Yes, and yes, I ran to a client like that, but for the most part, the scripts that they give me is very basic, so I just do it. But there's a couple other issues because it's hard to speak upon Sean's issue without actually seeing what was given to him, and then two, I don't know what he had told, what was discussed in the consultation, because I use the Bible app, and a lot of little things I put in my Bible planning app. So when I go through the timeline with them, I ask for like what kind of announcements you want, and for each one of these sections and all that. So as we going through the timeline, I'm already going through how we're going to announce this and that and the other. So therefore, there's no need for after the fact to tell me exactly how to do each one because we already had discussed it. And then the other thing is, being that I'm new, I don't charge a whole heck of a lot. So at the same time, if you want to charge $3,000, $4,000 for a wedding and then add all these extra services, it's like you open yourself up for people to want to throw money out there, but also want to nickel or dime and make sure they micromanage you and try to get every penny worth. So it's like it's hard for me to go and say something directly to Sean about his situation with when I don't know the extra particulars. But for the most part, plain and simple, if they give me a script, I'll read it and I don't try to record it because that's extra work right there. I just read it, and then two, you saying you're going to talk to him, just talk to him. And because again, a lot of times clients will give you these weird requests or like these huge don't plays and all this other stuff. It's because either they had a bad experience or heard of a bad experience. It might be one of those things where they they don't totally trust you, so they want to micromanage. So maybe it's just one of those things where if once you talk to them, you may not have to read word for word, just as long as they understand that at this time I want to announce this, at this time I want to announce that, and what's really important as far as the introductions, how you want to be announced, and leave it at that.
And what do you think about pre-recording the announcements because there's so much to them?
It depends. It depends on what is being asked for you to read. Because it's
10 pages.
but no, it's not 10 pages, but it's 10 pages of different things. And then he said there was an extra page for the announcements, I mean the introductions.
Yeah, so like say like father daughter's 2 paragraphs for the introduction for that.
Mm.
Are you gonna sit and read off your phone or your paper, whatever you use, the 2 paragraphs, or are you gonna record those 2 paragraphs ahead of time?
But why they need 2 paragraphs for just to announce the
That's the $1 million question I'm gonna ask them tomorrow.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Because it sounds like sometimes we make something that's really not an issue because we didn't ask them.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't know how to do a wedding. Because after doing this last wedding where you dealt with a couple that needed assistance, and then dealing with a wedding coordinator that was called that title, but was just doing it as a friend, they didn't know. So therefore, a lot of stuff that in the past that's been thrown to me is because they don't know. So again, it's just like what you said. If it sounds like they did it from chat on GPT, that's what they did. They looked it up so they'll know what to ask. So therefore, that's when you step in, and then you'll find out that they really don't want all of that. They just thought that was something that to help you out, but really that's what's hindering you. So I think once you talk to them, you might be able to forego all that, knowing that they can trust you to make the announcement and not control, but move the night like it's supposed to be.
Okay.
I got question for them to ask very quickly. Ask them, how much time did you spend typing these 10 pages? Or did that waste of time could have filled out all your forms and gotten
Yeah.
all your answers done. You never have to question them.
So in total, I'll tell you, in total, I got 6 documents from them today. My forms would have been a lot easier than what they gave me, but
And again, it's they
Okay.
don't do weddings all the time. We do, and yet they decided to go off track and do their own thing, which
They
they shot
reinvented
themselves
the
in the
wheel.
foot, made more work for themselves than what would it take to go through your paperwork. It's just like, again, Dwayne and I use Vibo, or again, you use another service. Those services that we use, the customer portals that we use, either app or portal, whatever it is, are designed to help those clients to make sure they're on track for it. Even a simple Excel spreadsheet. Again, I used that for many years. We wanted people to use that because it kept people focused. And we still run to clients who are technologically challenged, and we would use that sheet for them. And it's not a bad thing, but sometimes people they get too down in the weeds. And then Dwayne brought a good thing up is that we're looking at stuff we haven't talked to them yet, and that's the other part. We're talking to them if they're dead set on this. Again, this is all food for thought.
And
And
then also I want to ask, what is the time frame between the first time they reached out to you and you getting the information and when the wedding is?
well, I mean, they booked back last fall. We had our first meeting about a month ago, which is where kind of went through like, hey, you need to get these forms finished up. This is what I need from you guys. And then it's been emails back and forth, and then today was the mother load. So
So, because I was thinking they did just like my students would do. September can be here, and you can tell them you need to do your big unit project, and it's due the last day before Christmas break. They won't do anything until that Monday or Wednesday, and then it looked like they just went through Google and just copied it. So they didn't type that stuff. They just copy and paste and just sent it rushing instead of thinking through. So I'm thinking that's what's going on.
Can I intervene right now real quick? So this is a perfect example why I want to say venues, the staff venues, force their brides to hire a wedding planner, or they'll assign somebody else to do it because they don't want to deal with all of this havoc.
oh yeah.
So what you're doing is you need to hire, listen, I get it, I'll do this for you, but I need to hire a separate person for this. And this is the
So I'm pretty sure they have a coordinator. I haven't met the coordinator yet,
No, but I'm just
it's
saying
on their sheet, and they got 6 content creators for the day. I got all their vendor contacts as one of our forms.
But I'm just trying to give you the example of what venues do. They basically buffer themselves from all this havoc.
Yeah.
well, it's every area is different. And like in California, I know it's different than here. We do have, again, when Tracy does the coordination, time management. She was a coordinator on Saturday, and she had to do a bunch of stuff, putting out the centerpieces and do all this other stuff. She did 12 miles of walking in that venue. That's how much. And then we had one of our employees with us. So when we got set up, halfway through setup, Tracy left to go doing the coordination stuff and doing downstairs and doing upstairs and doing centerpieces and so forth. That's a lot of work. And like there, after the work was done, because you had to have this is a venue that requires a coordinator. I told Tracy we should have charged extra for this. And again, in normal basic coordination, not a problem, but this was a more advanced coordination, which Tracy knocked out of the park. Tracy does that without a problem. But when you get into that, yeah, there should be an additional charge, and I'm blessed to have her to do that. And we work together. But it's one of the things that when you have something this, and I feel it's a lot very complicated, and allow wheels turning, you can run into problems because the wheel and the bus go round and round till they fall off. Speaking of the fun stuff and wheels, who's always been driving around and always been flying around lately is Jeff. Jeff, what's your 2 cents on this?
Well, the client's always right up until they're not. So it's you just got to talk with them, bring them down to earth. A lot of times clients will throw something at you, and when you hit them with this is way too much, you need to bring it back a little bit, they're like, oh yeah, sure, you whatever you recommend. Some of them are really open to that. If they aren't, if they're drawing that red line, this is exactly what has to be said. A couple of things you can look at. One is basically drawing a red line yourself and saying, this is too much for me. You need to hire somebody else to say that. I'll be glad to DJ, but this is much too much. You need to bring in a third party to read this during the evening. I cannot do that and do my job. So that's one option. The other option is just saying, okay, we're going to pre-record it. I got no problem with that, and pre-record it. Saying that's how it's got to be done. I can't read this amount of material live without messing up. So if you want it and you want it done right, we're going to pre-record it. The other option is not a good option, but do it. And I hate to say this, but I mean, you almost want to preface it by telling the audience, this is what was giving me, somehow, nicely saying these wonderful words that I'm about to read to you were written by the bride and groom, and they want me to read this verbatim to you. So listen up, without making it sound, negative, but at least letting the audience who is going to be moaning and groaning at all of this material, let them know this is not my doing. I am not making this up off the top of my head. I'm reading from a piece of paper here without making it sound that bad, but, letting the audience know that it's going to, this is destroying the wedding vibe, and it's not my fault, So, and, doing that in a nice way, obviously, without making it sound, nasty, but that's a last resort. So, it is what it is. It's not a good position to be in. But I've got a feeling the client will probably, meet you halfway there in some shape or form. I think if you give them, push back a little bit, I think they'll meet you. So at least I hope.
And Sean, got a couple of follow-ups here for you. Fred has said, tell Buddy will take over for you with a couple of laughing, crying emojis. He sounds like he's okay with these clients. It's not a question of being okay with the client, is that, again, we don't want to beat clients up. I don't know them. I don't want people to say, oh, client's bad and beating people up. That's not the reason why I'm bringing this up. I'm asking this because we do run into this in the field every so often, and it's good to hear how other DJs handle stuff like this. So it gives you an idea, and said, so you're not going off angry and mad. This is so you go and educated and be like, okay, I've heard about this, even if you have not run into this. What should I do? Okay, let's figure this out and think this through. Because, I've run into it, with stuff similar to this, that, I go to Tracy, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff here. And we work through it, and we talk to the client, like Jeff suggested, and work things out with them and explain to them. Again, we do this every weekend. They don't. They see stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, on whatever. And, 1 minute they're watching DJ Brentley doing his stuff down up there in Wisconsin at a beautiful wedding. Then next minute they're watching, DJ No Skills, basically putting funny hats on, like, oh, our DJ would be cool if our DJ Brentley did that. It's like, Brentley's not going to do that. Brentley is not going to put funny hats on. He's going to be professional. He's going to sit there and work through everything. And that's the
Miranda.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I actually think for the right price, he would put funny hats on. Just saying.
So Brentley, I want to go to you because you have a little technical problem. I want you to get your feet wet into the question. So if you had a client like this, like what Sean said, with basically gave you, a bunch of information, a bunch of paragraphs to say, what would you do? How would you do it?
Well, I'm going to go all the way back to the booking process. And thanks to Mitch Taylor, and I will refer to him almost all the time, that in the booking process, you really need to feel out what your couple is looking for. And I will delve into what kind of MC stuff they want, how they want me to approach guests. Are they looking for somebody who's John Lovitz from The Wedding Singer? Or somebody like Jason Jani, who is so drawn out, you almost want to go to sleep while he's doing introductions because of how long it is? Or are they looking for something that's professional, polite, to the point? And exactly, classy, the whole 9 yards. And if you can get all, and I don't want to sound, wrong about it, but I kind of grill the couples that want to book me, because the last thing either of us want is the DJ to be the wrong fit. And even the wedding I DJ'd for Sunday was kind of similar. Very, they had content creator, video, photographer, the whole 9 yards. And she was very into content creation. So I had a very strict kind of thing to go with. But by the time we'd gotten there, we'd hashed everything out. And like how you said, they just bombarded you on, today or yesterday with a bunch of info. I ran into that for my Friday wedding, where, just like Dwayne pointed out, this couple, they're party animals. So I know how they did in school. That's a no-brainer. But they literally waited until Monday and just spewed a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to call you tomorrow. Let's go through all of this. And every aspect that they'd sent me. And I went back to my CRM and said, I'm putting this in here. So if you need to refer to this, the coordinator at the venue needs it. It's all here and good to go. And yeah, it was real time consuming. It took about an hour with her to make sure we had everything in order. And that was a couple more hours of me going to each vendor I needed to talk to. And Joe, you made a point, you get an hour of free consultation, which for me, because like you were saying, Chris, I think you were saying it, that, or Dwayne was saying it rather, sorry, that you're not charging, an exorbitant fee for your services. In my market, I'm on the top, I think I'm the highest base price over any of the DJs around me. And it's by $400 or $500 minimum. And then of course you have the $700 and $800, under $1,000 DJs who are also in that same boat. So I'm more than willing to hold my couple's hand every aspect of the way. So much so that I've set my CRM and I use CheckCherry to send out email. You can do any CRM to do this, but one of the first emails I'll send out, hey, it's Brett Lee just checking in. Do you have any questions? Do you need any help? Have you picked all your vendors? So I'm poking every couple of months to make sure I'm sending out or asking something that's useful. So it also lets them know that I am holding their hand the entire process. So hand in hand, with all of that, I will ask them, send them back to my webpage. Do you need music suggestions? Do you have a seating chart yet? Where are you planning on putting me? So by the time the day leads up to our 30-day, every possible aspect and question that, as DJs we have, where are you putting me? Who's going to be surrounded by me? All of it, I can get to them and go, okay, we're to this point. Let's just review, make sure we're on the same page. Now, when somebody gives me a long blank script, that 30-day is when we need to hash that out. And if it's that long, I will really kind of, not stand up, but be like, and I did this, there was one wedding I had a lot of it, and I understand why. And I should backtrack again. Thank you, Mitch Taylor. Everything they're giving us to do may feel futile, mook, or whatever we want to call it. but for some reason, it means a lot to them for their day. And we need to be able to, by accepting this, the weddings we take, we need to put emphasis on those feelings of that couple, focusing on that. And if it's a script like that, I'm more than happy to do it. I just want to go over every aspect of it. And I'm honestly not going to pre-record it, because that's when things start to feel inauthentic. And when I'm charging $2,000 and up for an entire day, I don't want them to feel anything inauthentic. I want them to feel as if I give, as much and care as much as they do about their day. And so, yeah, reading it might be, slightly a bunch of ball buster kind of stuff and really annoying. But if you can endear yourself to your guests and to your couple, will that lead to more wedding referrals? Will it lead to that couple giving you this rave review that other couples are going to be like, wow, they gave him this, he's detail oriented, he can do all of this and is capable of this and so much more. Well, if you can knock it out of the park like that, is it worth it to do everything, without pre-recording it? And if you have to read a script, they've given you a lot. And as they see, and you can even, like Jeff said, maybe prepare us a little something. Hey, these words were brought to you by our couple because everyone here, from their parents to each one of you guests, is a hand-picked group that they want to share this with. That might be a little bit over the top, but there needs to be a certain elegance to how you portray this all on their day. And like I said, the review is the biggest thing possible. And I will throw it out there because of this. I have, knock on wood, every event for the last 2-3 weeks now has left me a 5-star review on my Google page. So much so that I'm not going to announce it yet, but I'm doing a very big grand opening here in La Crosse. And they're talking to me about doing a couple of the other grand openings in the Midwest, just based on how I handled our conversation and seeing my page and reviews. So would this give you more and help you notch up because you have all the enhancements you're using? And so that's my part about it. That's my whole thought process. I would be all about doing everything I possibly could to make it perfect no matter what. But my pricing is going to dictate that this is the level of treatment, customer service, and everything I'm giving.
And that kind of goes back to what Joe was saying, that, after someone makes it more elaborate, there are additional charges for the elaboracy that the couple may give you. And that right there, I feel is another guardrail you could put on there for customers so they don't come at you with a huge amount of information. But again, it's a challenging thing. Is there one way right, one way wrong? No. But it gives you kind of ideas, and maybe you build your own philosophy and your own pathway to it. And again, I may not agree with Bradley there about doing it live, because we all make mistakes. I make mistakes on here. We all make mistakes, and having that much to go through, I would feel better to do it here, record it, and then play it there at the wedding. So that way I know there's no mistakes and still have that enthusiasm in my voice, versus reading it and then losing a spot or skipping something and making a mistake. That's the way I look at it. Again, Brentley looks at it totally differently. So again, there's different thoughts of doing it. There's not one is right. I'm not saying I'm right and he's right, or he's wrong and I'm right. We're not saying that. We're saying that there's different ways of doing it, and you have to kind of find your own path, but it gives you ideas and thoughts how to do things. There's not a right way. Again, Jeff has also got a great thing about talking to them, because we're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit with this. Chris has got some great ideas. Dwayne's run into this before. And again, he's of all of us, he probably has, the least amount of years in. He has years in doing it, but, he's really, doesn't have, 20 years or 30 years, or like Joe there with 28 years or 30 years, whatever he has. But Joe's only 30 years old. He's been DJing since he was a baby. So
I always tell my clients I'm 21 with 47 years of experience.
there you go. There you go.
Do
Well,
the math.
if Tracy was here, she'd say I'm a 12-year-old trapped in a 50-year-old man's body. So uh, we all know how that is. Couple things down here. This is from Fred. Is this a cultural wedding? Those could be really involved. And yeah, that is very, very true. Especially you get into, like Joe said, with the Filipino wedding, Spanish weddings, Polish weddings. Yeah, you start getting into the culture stuff. So, Sean, is this a cultural wedding? Is this something they're embracing a religion or culture or anything like that?
It is. It's a mixed wedding. It is American and Hindu.
Hindu wedding.
That's
Handy
fine.
wedding.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Are they bringing in
see-
the elephant? Is the elephant going to be there?
What was
You
that?
know, Sean.
The
White
elephant.
elephant.
No elephant.
You know, Sean. This is. Did you know they were mixed?
Oh, yeah.
Mixed races. See that right out the gate. If I knew, and I've done this a couple of times this year to go back to Chicago and refer them. I was offered an Indian. I'm not sure what India religion it was, and a Spanish wedding, and I'm like, no. I'm not even taking the chance.
And I
I
do
would
quite
rather.
I do quite a bit of Indian. There's a big Korean population down here, and so their weddings are very extravagant and usually full of lots of like performances and stuff. I've just never had one right out the entire day for you, you know? And I guess my biggest beef with the whole thing is that's not how I'm normally going to speak and announce things. So you talked about the genuineness of doing it there live, but how genuine is it going to be when those aren't your words? You know, they're forcing upon you to say it their way versus how things are normally going to roll off your tongue.
Yeah.
How you would normally
Naturally,
do it.
right.
So are they going to be standing over you, reading every word, making sure you say every syllable?
No, but
But
there's
you can
6
always
content
paraphrase
creators
it.
are going to be.
There are going to be people recording and putting it on social
Recording this,
media.
yeah.
So again, this is something that I would work out. Like Jeff said, I said it, Joe said it, and Chris said it, and Dwayne. We all said it. Talk to them, work it out with them beforehand.
Yeah.
Now, this could
So
affect
You're
your
coming down to
performance.
the deadline. When are you going to even
Yeah.
have time if you have to record this?
I'll
I'll
start recording this week if I need to.
Here's the one thing: when you're recording in a studio versus having people around you that are enthusiastic about the event, you're going to have a different demeanor and different nuances in the way you speak those words. You're not just going to go out. Are you really going to put your all effort when you have no one else around you to be excited for?
So
When you
I'm thinking the way they have it written out, I'm thinking like voice of God, Disney World type announcement is
Is that
what I'm
what they
thinking
want?
it with.
I would ask, is that what you want? Do you want that Disney narrator announcement? In a world, like
Yeah.
if
In a
that's what they
world.
want, then yeah, you can most certainly record that and keep that flow going.
And
but
obviously,
if-
like I'm not gonna do entrances. Entrances I'll still do live. Entrances are actually they're
I would too. I mean, I love doing entrances.
Yeah, me too.
Me saying hello to the client's guests and getting them riled up for a quick few seconds, and then introducing the parents and then the bridal party and then the bride and groom on their big entrance is the biggest thing that they're going to have. This is their halftime introduction before you get
Yep.
to the big show of doing all the dances.
To help put it in
Yeah.
more perspective, entrances
Yeah.
they have 12 people, all different songs,
Mm-hmm.
covered on one sheet.
That's cool. I mean,
10
they
sheets
knocked
then
that
though
down.
for the 10 sheets then though for the rest of it. Just to give you an idea, like to really show like, and again, like
See,
it's
that's one thing I would push back. I don't.
if I was telling their love story, stuff like that, like actually meaningful stuff, it's one thing. But when it's just word garbage put together,
Word salad, yeah. The thing I don't like to do more than 3 songs for a grand introduction. Again, it prolongs it when you got a song for each couple. And when you have that, you got to play for 30 seconds or so people get what the song is for, especially there's meaning behind it. And then you're adding all this talking. That introduction, it goes from being 3 minutes, 4 minutes worth of work into 10, 15 minutes worth of work. And that, can throw off dinner. they could throw the caterer off or the facility off. So
the venue.
there's
Oh
a
my
lot
God,
there.
yeah.
Venues don't like
Who knows
serving
what else
cold
they got?
food. Couple other things here. Fred said shots fired at Jenny. Pew pew, Adrian E said. Crossfire said it's a wedding, not the Oscar nomination. He also
Exactly.
said
Exactly.
he said it's I guess he's for Adrian E. Adrian style wedding. When it's this is from Fred. When it's a cultural wedding, charge more. When it's a cultural wedding, charge more. And Crossfire said he agreed. Fred also said, no offense, but they probably went with you because your price was cheaper than you were going with one of their own culture's DJs.
Ooh.
Shots fired. Probably not. I'm one of the most expensive in the area. So,
Or maybe no one wanted to deal with them because they already knew.
my guess is they blew off as many meetings with other DJs as they did with us.
And they said, "Oh no!" And you're the only one that continued on.
I stayed for the third time.
Yeah.
Well, again, they're a challenging couple to say the least. And again, this is not. There's nothing here that is has to be done and set in concrete. This is all ideas for you, and we'll know what in a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A little over 2 weeks. So I guess you guys out there have to be watching and paying attention. And when Sean has that wedding, we'll give you a heads up on how it went and everything. And
Have to tell us.
yeah, he'll break it here on the show and let you guys know.
I look forward to hearing it.
It should be very, very interesting. And again, I've had it. Everyone here has had it, and there's different ways of doing it.
How are you, Sean? Are you recording the 10 songs? Or are you basically putting them on cue buttons and hitting them when they come up?
For entrance,
Yeah.
I'll record it all into one track with cue buttons.
Oh, okay.
So it'll actually be 2 tracks because of the amount of them.
Are you using
Obviously, only 8
Serato?
pads on it.
Are you using Serato or Virtual DJ?
Virtual DJ.
Okay. The reason I'm
So
saying
I'll
because-
record in Virtual DJ and then set everything. So
Yeah, because in some of the software you can basically set up cue points and
yeah,
make them like samples. Just assign them to the key, so you got
yeah,
32 pads theoretically.
and that's not a bad idea either. I haven't tried it yet, but with Virtual DJ with the new like stem sampler features and that, I probably could just record each section as a sampler and not
Yeah.
even bother recording the whole track.
That would be
Yeah.
easier for you. That way you
Load
can-
a track as a sampler. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each song. The
Crossfire says
next
record
problem is,
box.
what about stopping it? And when it needs to stop, if you're going to fade out, you're not going to play the whole entire song for
Right.
introductions.
So
Again, I guess you go out. Crossfire says record box. I know Brentley, he uses record box. So Brentley, he loves that. I think you're the only one here who uses record box, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because we have mostly Serato and Virtual DJ. And so again, different people like different software. There's why there's one more than one. There's also, Algorithm has theirs, you have
Algorithm
Tractor,
DJ.
you have a bunch. So price shopping and the other price shop the other cultural DJs in your area, and he said he'll bet they charge more. So you might want to take a look at that and just say, hey, am I undercharging like Fred thinks? You might be. You never know. You never know until you take a look at it. But with that said, we're already over the hour. We thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully it gives you a lot of food for thought. And as always, week to week, it's always different topics. If you like this topic, you like other topics, say something down below on YouTube in the chat and tell us how we're doing. Give us a thumbs up, Okay, so who is going to take us out tonight? I really like to have Joe take us out tonight.
All right, all right.
All right, we got Joe taking us out tonight. Okay, come on, Joe.
Well,
You
once
got it,
again,
man.
it's amazing to be part of the Roundtable show. We shared our expertise and our experience, and don't forget to click that button that like button, and what is it, the bell
icon.
icon,
Subscribe.
and get some subscribers on here. Subscribe, and like Buddy said, send some suggestions of what topics you'd like to cover.
There we go. You guys have a nice night. Enjoy yourself. Happy 4th of July. This is recorded before the 4th. You'll see this on YouTube after the 4th. And really quickly, just show of hands before we go. Anyone here have a gig on the 4th weekend?
Kinda.
2, 3 people
Just
got gigs
booked
on
it
the 4th
last night.
So I guess next week we'll hear what happens to those fourth gigs. I know Brentley probably be at a couple of the bars. Code Blue Cam.
Oh, we're having some fun this year. I don't have any weddings. I start my 4-night in a row run at La Crosse Beer House tomorrow night. Midlife crisis loading. I'm going to be an alcoholic, so you may in fact see me in Drunk Tank on Code Blue Cam. We'll see how far we take it this weekend.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully
Like,
we don't see you at Blue Cam.
Any of the BS I put on my Facebook page recently, like application for a partner in crime, you know, the inevitability of winding up in a ditch or a jail, it's happening this week. It's done. All the girls that have been in my inbox, we are partying this week. It is happening.
We'll take a look at that. Other than that, guys, have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. Keep cool. And we'll see you next time.